Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This video I'm gonna continue to with Alice in Wonderland. So now it's on chapter 7, a mad tea party. There was a table set up under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Heather were having a tea at it. And a dormouse was sitting between them fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Alice, only as it's asleep I suppose it doesn't mind. The table as was a large one, and the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. No room, no room, they cried out when they saw Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice indignantly, since she sat down in a large armchair and at the end of the table. Have some wine, the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it. Gee, I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then it wasn't very civil of you to do, Offer said, thoroughly angry. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's late for a great many more than three. Your hair was once cutting, said the Heather. He had been looking at the Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. "You should learn not to make personal remarks," Alice said with some severity. "It's very rude." The Hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, why is a raven like writing a desk? Come, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they have begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it? Said the March Hare. Exactly so, said Alice. Then you should say what you mean. The March Hare went on. I do, Hallie hastily replied. At least I mean what I say, that's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said the Hatter. Why, you might just as well say that I see what I eat. It's the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get as the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Mormons who seem like be talking in his sleep, that I breathe when I sleep as the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It is the same thing which you said the header, and here conversation dropped. Everybody and sat silent for a minute while Alice thought over all that she could remember about refuse and writing desks, which was much. Heather was the first to break the silence. What day of the month is it? I said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and was looking at uneasily, shaking it very now and then, holding it to his ear. Alice considered a little and said, the fourth. 2 days wrong, sighed the other. I thought you butter wouldn't suit the words, he added, looking angrily at the March Hare. It was the best butter, the March Hare meekly replied. Yes, but some crumbs must have got in as well. The Hatter grumbled. You shouldn't have put it in with bread knife. The March Hare took the watch and looked at it gloomily. He dipped it into his cup of tea and looked at it again, but he could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best butter, you know. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. What a funny watch, she remarked. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is. Why should it? Muttered the Hatter. Does your watch tell you what year it is? Of course not, Alice replied very weirdly. But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together. Which is just his case of mine, said the Hatter. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled. The Hatter's remark seemed to her to have no sort of meaning in it, and yet it was certainly English. I don't quite understand you, she said as politely as she could. The dormouse is asleep again, said the Hatter, and put a little hot tea on to its nose. The dormouse shook its head impatiently and said, without opening its eyes, of course, just what I was going to remark myself. Have you guessed the riddle yet? The Hatter said, turning to Alice again. No, I give up. Alice replied, what's the answer? I haven't the slightest idea, said the Hatter. Nor I, said the March Hare. Alice sighed wearily. I think you might do something better with the same time, said Alice. Then waste it in asking riddles that have no answer. If you knew tune as well as I do, said the Hatter, you wouldn't talk about wrestling it. It's him. I don't know what you mean, said Alice. Of course you don't, the hatter said, tossing his head contemptuously. I dare say you never since spoke the time. Perhaps not, Alice casually replied, but I know I have to beat time when I learn much. Music, oh, let's account for it, said the hatter. He won't standing beating. Now if you only keep on good terms with him, he would do almost anything you like with the clock. For instance, I suppose it was 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin a lesson. You'd only have to whisper a hint to tune, and round goes the clock for in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. I only wish it was the Marsh Hare said to himself in a whisper. "That would be grand, certainly," said Alice, thoughtful, "but then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know." "Not at first, perhaps," said the Hatter, "but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you like." "Is that the way you manage?" Alice asked. The Hatter shook his head mournfully. Not I," he replied. "We quarrelled last March, just before he went mad, you know," pointing his teaspoon at the March Hare. "It was the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing. You know the song, perhaps?" "I've heard something like it," said Alice. "It goes on, you know." The hatter continued in this way. Here the enormous shook itself and began singing in its sleep, "Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle, twinkle," and went on so long that they had to pinch it to make it stop. "Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse," said the hatter. The queen bawled out, "He's murring the time" of his hat. "How dreadfully savage!" exclaimed Alice. "And never seen that. The hatter went on in a mournful tone. "He won't do a thing to us, I asked. It's always 6 o'clock now." A bright idea came into Alice's head. "Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here?" So she asked. "Yes, that's it," said the hatter with a sigh. "It's always tea time, and we've no time to wash the things between whiles." "Then you keep moving round, I suppose," said Alice. "Exactly so," said the hatter, "as the things get used up." "But when you come to the beginning again," Alice went to ask, "suppose we change the subject." The Marcher interrupted her, yawning. "I'm getting tired of this. I thought the young lady tells us a story." "I'm afraid I don't know one," said Alice, rather alarmed at the proposal. "And the Dormouse shall," they both cried. "Wake up, Dormouse!" And they clinched and they both said at once. The Dormouse slowly opened his eyes. I wasn't asleep," he said in a hoarse, helpless voice. "I heard every word you fellows were saying." "Tell us a story," said the March Hare. "Yes, please do," pleaded Alice. "And be quick about it," added Heather, "or you'll be asleep again before it's done." Once upon a time there were three little sisters, and the Dormers began in this great hurry, and their names were Elsie, Lassie, and Tiley, and they lived in the bottom of a well. "And what did they live on?" said Alice, who always took a great interest in the question of eating and drinking. "They live in a treacle," said the dormouse. After thinking a minute or two, "They couldn't have done that, you know. Alice Chandler remarked. They have been ill." "So they were," said the dormouse. "Very ill." Alice tried a little to fancy to herself that such an extraordinary way of living would be like it, but it puzzled her too much, so she went on. "But why did they live at the bottom of a well?" "Tell some more, G," the March Hare said to Alice very earnestly. "I have nothing yet," Alice replied in an offended tone, "so I can't take more." "You mean you can't take less," said the hatter. "It's very easy to take more than nothing." "Nobody asked your opinion," said Alice. "Who's making personal remarks now?" The hatter said asked triumphantly. Alice did not quite know what to say to this, so she helped herself to some tea and bread and butter, and then turned to the dormouse and repeated her question. "Why did they live at the bottom of a well?" The dormouse again took a minute or two to think about it, and then said it was a treacle well. "There's no such thing." Alice was beginning very angry, but the hatter and the March Hare when "Shh, shh." The dormouse sulkily remarked, "If you can't be civil, you better finish the story to yourself." "No, please go on," Alice said very humbly. "I won't interrupt again. I dare say there might be one." "One indeed," said the mouse indignantly. "However, be consented to go on. And so these three little sisters, they were learning to draw, you know." "What did they draw?" said Alice, quite forgetting her promise. "Draco," said the dormouse, without considering at all this time. "I want to clean up," interrupted the hatter. "Let's all move on one place on." He moved on as he spoke, and the dormouse followed him. The March Hare moved into the dormouse's places, and Alice rather unwillingly looked at the place of the March Hare. The hatter was the only one who got any advantage from the change, and Alice was a good deal worse off than before, as the March Hare had just upset and the milk jumped into his plate. Alice did not wish to offend the Dormouse again, so she began very cautiously. "But I don't understand. Where did you draw the tackle from? You can draw water out of the water well," said the Hatter. "So I should think you could draw tackle out of track well, stupid." "But they were in the well," Alice said to the Dormouse, not choosing to notice this last remark. "Of course they were," said the Dormouse. "Well in." This answer so confused poor Alice that she let the Dormouse go on for some time without interrupting it. They were learning to draw. The Dormouse went on, yawning and rubbing its eyes, for it was getting very sleepy, and they drew all manner of things, everything that begins with M. Why with an M?" said Alice. "Why not?" said the March Hare. Alice was silent. The Dormouse had closed his eye by this time and was going off into the toast, but on being punched by the Hatter, it woke up again with a little shriek and went on. "That begins with an M, such as mousetrap and the mouth and the moon and the memory and muchness. You know, she said things are much of a muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of a muchness?" "Really, now you ask me," said Alice, very much confused. "I don't think." "Then you shouldn't talk," said the Hatter. The piece of rudeness was more than Alice could bear. She got up in great disgust and walked off. The Dormouse fell asleep instantly, and neither of the others took the least notice of her going, though she looked back once or twice, half hoping that they would call after her. The last time she saw them they were trying to put the Dormouse into a teapot. "At any rate, I'll never go there again," said Alice as she picked up her way through the wood. "It's the stupidest tea party ever was set in my life." Just as she said this, she noticed that one of the trees had a door leading right into it. "It's very curious," she thought, "but everything curious today. I think I might as well go into it once," and in she went. Once more she found herself in a long hall and close to a little glass table. "Now I'll manage better this time," she said to herself, beginning by taking the little golden key and unlocking the door and led it to the garden. Then she went to work nibbling at the mushroom, and she had kept a piece of it in her pocket till she was about the foot high. Then she walked down a little passage, and then she found herself at last in a beautiful garden, among the bright flower beds and the other cool fountains. So I think that's the end on the chapter 7, and thank you.